The Atlanta Falcons now, ladies and gentlemen, they're expected to franchise tag Kyle Pitts. They have $10 million in cap space. They have a second, third, fourth, no fifth, I believe. I believe they used the fifth to trade for Xavier Watts, who's a stud, by the way. They really did a good job on last year's draft class until James Pierce Jr. drove his Lamborghini into his girlfriend's car to prevent her from going to the police station to rat on him for being a real grade A piece of shit. So losing a guy like James Pierce Jr., not ideal for the Atlanta Falcons because he had 10.5 sacks as a rookie. And Jalen Walker was a guy kind of like Arvell Reese, kind of like Michael Parsons, where he played a lot of off-ball, so he's still going to have to develop. He still had 5.5 sacks last year. He's a good player. But if you could throw James Pierce Jr., Brandon Dorless, and Jalen Walker on the same defensive line for the next 5 years, you're in a really good spot. So they've drafted extremely, extremely well over the past few seasons. I think firing their GM was a mistake considering how well they drafted. And if I'm the Falcons, I'm still rolling with Mr. Penix this year. I'm still rolling with Mr. Penix. No reason not to. If he stinks, fine. You're going to be the worst team in your division if the quarterback stinks, because I think the Panthers are in a really good spot to only take a step this year with the way their salary cap is worked out and with the way their defense is only going to ascend. If they can bring in an edge rusher or two, which why wouldn't they? Okay, you got to be a moron in Carolina. You have to be a moron. I think the Panthers aren't going to upgrade at the edge rusher position, and if they don't, well, then they're just going to suck again next year. But I think offensively, if Bryce Young continues to develop in this Dave Canales offense, you have Ted McMillan and Jalen Coker, they're going to be just fine. Underrated offensive line. The Saints are only headed up too. They can't get worse. They're only headed up. I'm a Tyler Shuck believer. The Bucs are obviously still going to be a problem if Baker Mayfield's healthy. So if Michael Penix sucks, I think the Falcons will be the worst team in the division, and they're going to be picking last. They're going to be picking early next year. Not last, picking early next year. What a year to have an early pick and draft a QB, right? So I think roll with Michael Penix. You haven't given him enough leash. Hopefully he can stay healthy. They are losing some guys in free agency. James Pierce Jr. probably never going to play football again. Leonard Floyd, Arnold Ebiketie, Caden Ellis, David Onyemata, not ideal. They need to fill in that linebacker position. They also need to find somebody on the defensive line that can be a problem in run fit because they allowed the 25th most yards per carry on the ground a season ago. And they need an edge rusher. John Franklin fucking Myers, ladies and gentlemen. The perfect free agent signing for the Atlanta Falcons is going to be John Franklin Myers of the Denver Broncos. 29 years old, 7 sacks in back-to-back seasons, but where he's a real asset is in the run game and setting the edge. He's got the longest arms in the league, one of the most underrated players in the league. The Jets traded him for cap reasons. They traded him to Denver for a 6th-round pick. The Broncos fleeced us. They fleeced the Jets. The Jets' run defense went from here. They went from one of the best defense in the NFL. John Franklin Myers, not only can he rush the passer, underrated rushing the passer with his bull rush. He's not going to beat you with speed around the edge, but he is so good in run fit. The Falcons likely losing James Pierce Jr. Doubt that guy should ever play a snap again. And if everything we've heard about him and the story about him, and the story about his arrest is true, he doesn't belong in the NFL. Should probably be in jail for a good long time, and maybe even a mental institution. John Franklin Myers, perfect free agency fit for this Atlanta Falcons team. He would solve some problems in run fit. Again, 25th in rushing yards allowed per carry last year. And they're losing they're losing their leading sack guy in James Pierce Jr. So I think John Franklin Myers needs to be the number one free agency acquisition if you're the Falcons. Take a swing at Odafe Oweh, take a swing at Jalen Phillips. I don't think that's crazy at all. Offensively, I don't think they need to fill any holes. I think there's no holes on that offense. Maybe RB2. I think a lot of people underrate just how valuable Tyler Algier is to that offense. He was a very efficient runner on the ground. And if you're a defense, you have to deal with Bijan Robinson. He's tired. He sits on the bench for a series. Here comes Tyler Algier running right down your fucking face. You know what I mean? So he's a free agent this year. I think people, they should try and bring him back. But I don't think people understand just how valuable having that elite 2 in the 1-2 punch can really be. And I do think Tyler Algier was an elite 2 in a 1-2 punch. Really efficient on the ground. 1,000 yards as a rookie too. So he's a good player. Maybe draft an RB2 later in the round. I haven't done my homework on the RBs in this draft, but there's an RB in Arkansas. When I was watching I already forget the quarterback's name, Taylor Green. I was watching some Taylor Green tape, and this running back from Arkansas kept showing up there. And I was like, this guy's pretty fucking good. Turns out he's draft eligible. Don't remember his name. Mike something, I believe. Either way. RB2 in the draft, maybe. And then also in the draft in the 2nd round, D'Angelo Ponce. Right? If D'Angelo Ponce is there, I'm going to be saying that for everybody that needs some secondary help. Their cornerback 2 position, Mike Hughes, D. Alford, not awful, not great either. Their safety positions are fine with the kid from Georgia they drafted and Xavier Watts, studs. They'll be fine. They'll be fine in the back end with AJ Terrell as well. They could use another corner. And then Jacob Rodriguez. I keep doing that. Jacob Rodriguez. There's another name. Keontae Scott. Will lead the corner. They get a corner or an off-ball linebacker, and I think the Falcons will be just fine if Michael Penix is the guy. If he's not the guy, you're probably going to be picking top 10 next year. Draft a quarterback, then you have a guy, and you have a good roster around him. Like the Falcons are really a quarterback and maybe a few defensive pieces away from having a really, really, really elite football team. Elite football team. I don't know if Stefanski's the guy. He's never had a top 10 offense in Cleveland. He was the coach there for 5 years. He won one playoff game. Like, I think he's a very overrated coaching candidate, but we will see. I could be wrong. I think Nick Chubb, the Browns offense was at its best when they went through Nick Chubb. They got a guy in Bijan and a good offensive line. They can go through him right now as well. I am a little bit worried that if Penix isn't the guy and they go quarterback next year, they got some aging pieces on that offensive line. That's never a good sign. So maybe draft a tackle in the second and third round. They drafted a tackle last year as well, who might be, I don't know if he's any good, but I think it was a later round pick. Maybe he's sitting behind Jake Matthews. And their right tackle also got injured last year, forgetting his name. Whatever, it doesn't matter. I'm not trying to remember. But either way, maybe a tackle in the later rounds to sit and develop, a real project tackle to sit and develop while your offensive line gets older. So you have a contingency plan in place once these guys start fading into the abyss here. But yeah, that's the plan for the Falcons. Like, follow, subscribe. I'll talk to you guys later.